Putin of Russia evidently wants to be a lead suspect in the AIDS attack. Leave it to me, Vlad. The Hair Broadway musical has been shown by study in cultural anthropology, by familiarity, acquaintance, research, and investigation, to have been an extermination program. Never since the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising was put down with the help of Moscow has there been such a miasma as the implication touted by Sean Ono and his partner in the Kremlin. According to them, it seems, certainly they have no inhibitions about getting it to the realm of appearances, that they believe that a 10-year-old, 9-year-old, having marijuana pushed on them by adults is a death sentence. And it was designed in a script by an Israeli around another Israeli who worked with Martin Edelman of Wells Fargo's takeover system. He helped take over Wells Fargo in the coming of Donald Trump. Martin Edelman called Elizabeth a JAP, or a JAP, which he said meant Jewish American princess. And all 9 or 10-year-old little boys were deemed by Bernard Wattenmaker, an Attica State Prison psychiatrist in Pittsburgh, to owe their lives in defense of the JAPs. Martin Edelman angered my mother by spray painting on my bedroom wall. He just spray painted on my bedroom wall, big black letters. Reality is for people who can't handle drugs. He was a doper in Pittsburgh public schools, where marijuana use was virtually mandatory for acceptance in many academic intellectual circles. Certainly the Israelis were pushing even harder drugs. And the script admits that little Jimmy Crary, who Brucker dragged through glass, was subject to a battery, held down and burned, force-fed a nerve agent, but he swallowed it to take away the authoritarian compulsion that had forced him to swallow it. He grit his teeth and bared it. And this poison crime by the government was deemed punishable by death in the extermination program. It seems strange and callous that Robert Fripp, whose best lead man, John Wetton, died from complications of treatment of drug abuse, that he would be behind this thing with you. But bizarre as it sounds, this is the dibs call that was radiated from Yusu Endor in the United Nations in the name of Maduri Gota. They dramatized it when Camila Valieva deliberately fell, gave up the ghost, flipped the bird at the Beijing Olympics over taint in her blood. The taint in her blood routine of Vlad the Impaler and the two Vlads, two virgins war operation is what was going on behind the scenes in the intelligence system when the Beatles put out Back in the USSR. What was Back in the USSR? Well, for one thing, their divvies in the Great Showman heist were back in the USSR. They scuttled them back in the USSR with Donald Trump's stake in the theft. So let's talk about Greg Carl, GK, or 7-Eleven. GK was adopted by Ringo Starr, probably an agent all along, but the fishy business about the Eno Sucks. And that's theatrical struggle behind the scenes in Beatlemania media. The Beatles are very popular in Russia to this day. They appear on things like, I don't know, it was Pravda maybe. Full-page splashy ads about Yellow Submarine and stuff. It's easy to see why when you look at what Donald Trump and Nosferatu, who pulled with Epstein, they've got the hammer on the head of the American people. It's saying it's ripe for a takeover by whatever puritanical force comes along. Mr. Farrakhan comes in, jumps down, holds PP. Jimmy Curry is a 65-year-old man. What is he doing? Having his heart go out to a poet in Gaza who's only 12. And then he refracts that through media on the sublime Svengaliism of devil exorcism in the context of Epstein and stuff, so that they can erase the fact that Jimmy Curry's traumatized picture has emerged. The punishment for having Ralph Karsh push, who was in an apparatus for Milton Schaap, the governor, push marijuana on little Jimmy Curry, is to have the King Crimson's first album cover smashed in his face and brought to real life. And they think this is justice. So I can't read my own writing, so I have no more particular idea what else goes into this. But you can see what a piece of crud it is that Adrian Belew got hold of my postcard. They have Robert Card shooting up the deaf kids in the bowling alley. Timothy McVeigh. I mean, CMU is really out there. And the justification for all of this is that I reported them for planting marijuana on the college newspaper office. I mean, they had gobs of drugs. All these right-wingers had stacks and stacks of drugs. Look at Donald Toon forgiving a guy who was convicted for bringing tons of cocaine into America. So they want to make it that, and then they say that Jimmy Curry is guilty of a whole smorgasbord of slanders because he won't admit that he was smoking a doobie listening to Glass Onion, which they consider to be normal behavior, except when it comes across narrative being told by Jeff and media. Then they rip or murder Shannon Harps over a penny and saying, yeah, and the Ripper Hatters come parachuting down the banks of the Dnieper. Get a life, Eno. You really do suck. Eno sucks. He's not God. Eno sucks.